Hola players, Andy Paul is here and this is Guitar Guru channel. I understand that you tried to change strings and something went wrong. For example, your string snapped after you tried to tighten it, or maybe it even damaged your guitar, or you were not able to tune your strings after you changed them. So that's why you're here and I'm here to help you. Today I'm gonna explain how to change strings on one of the most common guitars, among electric guitars anyways. It's called Fender Stratocaster, right? Most people play this particular model. It's very standard and absolutely not unique. So basically what I show you will help you to change strings on pretty much any guitar of that class. Before you get ready to change strings, make sure you have these two little tools. One will help you twist and turn tuners quickly, fast, and also snap excess of a string. By the way, right now I can show you how it works. You simply use it as scissors. You put a string inside and cut it. That's it. And you need a Phillips screwdriver, which you'll use on the back side of your guitar to unscrew these 6 screws. Before you start loosening strings, before you start touching tuning pegs, you go to the back side of the body of your guitar and remove this panel that covers strings from the behind. All right, so basically take a smaller Phillips screwdriver and then move it counterclockwise to remove screws. All right, it's gonna be 6 of them. Find a place where you store the screws so you don't lose them, and then do all 6. You will need to remove this panel completely. Eventually though, when you become more proficient, you will skip this step, because you see there is a hole right here which should enable you to change strings even without removing the panel. I unscrew the panel, I can completely remove it, and you will see 3 springs inside that create tension from the opposite side of the bridge. You can see these 2 huge screws, and you can use bigger screwdriver to loosen the tension, right? So the strings will not be pulled by those springs too much. Or some guitarists simply remove one of the springs. Like let's say the one in the middle can be just taken off, all right? It will create more flexibility for the bridge, so it would work like tremolo. If you put a tremolo bar, you can vibrate with it, right? For now, I'm gonna put it back, but that's one of the options that you can actually do on your own. Like, that's for you to decide. You can see these holes, 6 of them, right? This is where the string is coming in actually. Panel is off, and you can see the insides of your guitar from the back end. You go back to your tuners, and now the important part is loosening strings. Pay close attention to how you loosen strings and in which order. It is extremely important to start from string number 1 or 6, right? First or last string. For example, you start with string number 6 and you start loosening. To do it quickly, you can basically use your tuner twister tool, right? Then, after you loosened string number 6, go to string number 1, all right? Do not loosen 1, 2, 3, for example, while 6, 5, and 4 keep pressing and creating tension on your neck on one side. When there is tension on one side, it may take your neck tilted to one side, especially on guitars where instead of 4 bolts you have played with only 3 bolts. That is easier to tilt it to the side if you leave bass strings tensed. So you loosen 6, then 1, then 5, then 2, then 4, and then 3. That's what I'm gonna do. I already loosened 6, so I'm loosening string number 1. Then I'm going to string number 5. Loosen it completely. And you go to string number 3. Loosen it completely. And you go to string number 4. You can check with your other hand how they all loose. If some of them still show tension, loosen it more. And on string number 3. And on string number 4. And finally 5. Alright, so we avoid situation where strings on one side all tensed or all loosened, right? We do 1, 6, 2, 5, 4, 3 when you loosen. When you tighten, it's going to be slightly different order. I'll show you in a minute. Alright, after your string is loose, right? It's like fairly loose. You can help with the right hand and just twist around and remove. So now string is gonna come out freely from the other side. If you push it through, it will come out from this side. Okay, make sure you straighten it and take it out. In the exact same way, you do it for string number 5. Now the order doesn't matter because they're all loose. All right. It will save you some time if you do it with your hand versus twisting the tuning peg. And again, make sure it's straight here. It will go through that tiny hole down, pick up the string and take it out. Then same with string number 4. Okay, make sure it's straight. Push it to the back. Now, big question, huge actually. What strings you pick to put on your Fender guitar or on any electric guitar? I personally prefer Daddario. This particular gauge, you can see numbers 9/42 in the corner. That's very important. You don't have to remember all numbers, you know, for all strings like 9, 11, 16, 24. It's the thickness of each and every string, starting with the finest, with the thinnest string, right? So just keep in mind that string number 1 is supposed to be 9 or so-called 09. That's the gauge, right? That is fairly light and thin string. It's easy to bend and vibrate on string that is marked number 9. If you want something more brutal, harder to bend for maybe a heavier music style, or maybe for jazz when you don't bend strings much, you can start with 10 or even 11, right? But I prefer 9 because it's more suitable for classic rock or standard pop rock. Another option would be something like Ernie Ball, Slinky Cobalt. That's a new design, basically a newer kid on the block. They have new method and new technology that prevents string from corrosion, and when you bend them, they do not deform. But I don't really like the brilliance or sound in clean sound on Fender with those ones. I still think that Daddario is better for clean sound on Fender guitar. And ultimately, Fender strings. So it makes sense to put Fender strings on Fender guitar, although I prefer Daddario, right? But Fender is closest option, second option to Daddario strings. So we're gonna use Fender on Fender. And these particular strings are called bullet end, because the ending of each string is gonna look like a little bullet. So that's why that type of string is called bullet end, because it looks like bullet without casing. And it's like old-fashioned, you know, when Fenders just start being made in 1954. These strings were the first one to come out for Fender guitars. So to put it in, find the sharp end of a string and go to hole number 1 from the bottom and feed the string into that hole until you can grab it with your other hand. So once you feel the tension, make sure that bullet went all the way down through the hole. All right, so it's inside, so you don't see it. Then make sure you let the string go freely without twisting it to the side. All right, and make sure the string goes right in between these 2 tiny screws on the bridge that holds string number 1, right? Once everything is in order, make a tension, like keep the tension on with your right hand. You see it's tensed here, but no tension on the other side. And put it into a tuning peg number 1. All right, so you feed the string on that side here. Then try to create a little bit of tension. That much of a string is gonna stick out, right? Then make sure it goes tightly around the tuning peg. That's how I create tension with my right hand. You see, there is tension here now and tension here on both sides. So I twist my wrist to create tension on both sides of the string. Also, if your guitar has this little holder that makes sure that your string number 1 and 2 are closer to the headstock, right? Put it in, all right? It will create proper angle for your string to be fed into the nut bridge. And then with your other hand, start twisting the tuning key, all right? If you don't have much time or your hand is tired, again, use your twister. Use this specific little tool to tighten string. Make sure that layers go next to each other, all right? Make sure string is basically leaning with one layer towards adjacent layer. And then continue making tension with your right hand. You will see the tension is increasing on both sides of the string, so nothing is changed until string gets straight. And you feed it into that little part that's designated for string number 1 on the nut. This part is called nut, N-U-T, and the other part that holds string on the other side is called bridge. All right, do not tighten string much, just very, very loose, but enough to actually keep string in a little bit of tension. This time it doesn't matter if you put 1 and then 6 and then second string and then 5, because we're not gonna tighten strings. All right, they're not gonna create extra tension on one side of the neck and tilt the neck, so it's not gonna happen. We're good to go with string number 1, then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. Or you can do it in any order you want. I would still do it with progression, starting with skinny small string number 1, and then go to 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. To install other strings exact same way as we did for string 1 and 2. So now you feed it into hole number 2 here, the bigger hole, until you feel it's coming out. Then again, flip it over and make sure the bullet went inside, all the way inside the hole. So you can't see it, that's why I know it's inside. Keep it tensed, all right? Create tension. Create tension with your right hand. So here it's tensed, here it's not, right? Feed it into tuning key number 2. That much string is taken out, and with your right hand, just look how with my fingers and palm, I keep string tensed on one side and on the other side. And then you can feed it back into that tiny holder that's designated to keep string number 1 and 2 closer to the headstock. And if you don't have much time or your hand gets tired, you simply rotate tuning key with this little tool and make sure there is tension on this side, so layers of string go around tuning peg next to each other consistently. Then within 10 seconds or maybe 15 seconds, you should be able to tighten string number 2, but do not tighten it too much. Just very little amount of tension is needed just to keep your string in place. But you don't want to create bigger tension because your neck might be tilted to the side. There is nothing that holds your neck on the left side, right? No strings are installed yet. Same way, install string number 3, 4, 5, and 6. One more suggestion. When you put down string number 3, 4, 5, or 6, hold string down against the headstock with your finger. When you rotate, make sure it's wrapping around tuning peg and it's being held down closer to the headstock. And then let it go only after you feel the tension of the string. Now, after you're done and all strings are installed and you can see the layers are next to each other on this string and they are pretty much down, right? They're not on top of the tuning key, but more like closer to the headstock. You inspect the other side. You see, I removed one of the springs because I want to use tremolo bar eventually. Make sure that each bullet or ending of a string is all the way deep inside. That's first thing to check. Another one, check if action, the distance between strings and fretboard, is low. So basically, you need maybe a couple of millimeters only, the distance between 6th string and actual fretboard. If it's more, you will check the straightness of your neck. You look from here all the way down to the last fret. You will see if your neck is straight or not from this angle. If it's not, if your neck is curved or twisted, it needs adjustments. And it will have something to do with this metal truss rod that's inside, right? You will need a special tool to adjust the tension of a metal rod inside your neck. But that's worth a separate video, as long as adjusting the height of each and every string separately using these tiny screws. And now, again, specific tool is needed for that. And just let me know, guys, if you need this information. I can record a separate video of how to adjust metal truss rod inside the neck and how to adjust the height of each individual string. All right, put comments in underneath this video and I will know that you want this kind of video to be recorded. Well, and final step, after all strings have a little bit of tension, start tuning strings one by one. I would recommend starting somewhere in the middle range, string number 3 or 4. Let's say we start with string number 3. Then you go to 4, then you go to 2nd, then 5th, 1st, and 6th. Again, to avoid tension only on one side of your neck, to avoid it tilting to one side. Basically, you use electronic tuner and you know the string number 3 is G. So you will put it on your neck and see how it goes towards letter G. And when you see green light, that means it's a perfect G. Same way, you tighten string number 4. You keep looking at your electronic tuner. Once it shows D and perfect green light in the middle, it's D. Then you go to 2nd, tune it to a B note. Wait for green light to be on, and then go to 5, that is so-called A string. Make it sound A with green light. Go to 1st, E, higher octave E, and then lower octave E for string number 6. And then you are done. Again, inspect the action, distance between strings and fretboard. Make sure it's not far and make sure your neck is perfectly straight. All right, folks. Anyways, give me your thoughts. Put some comments or suggestions, or maybe a method that you use to tune your guitar. I personally think that this one is safe and keeps your strings in tune eventually, right? And prevents it from snapping and basically prevents you from damaging the neck and adjustments of the neck. Once you mess up the straightness of the neck, there would be no way to tune your guitar properly. All right, so be very careful, avoid creating tension on one side of the neck. When you tighten string, go string number 3, 4, 2, 5, 1, 6. All right, I hope you like this presentation and this method, and I'll see you in the next video. I hope you like my presentation and the method I use to change strings. If you see another access, like string number 6 is still sticking out, you simply cut it. All right, please feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know if you have a better method, and subscribe, like as usual. This is Guitar Guru channel, and I'm Andy Paul, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, bye bye.